All right, guys, I want to do a video on the pros and cons of fruit trees. This is kind of a generalization video. I'm not going to really cover specific types. I can do that down the road, but these are more like rules that you might want to watch out for. And there are some great benefits, but you got to be careful on the con side as well. For anybody planting fruit trees for deer, you need to realize that fruit trees are very unreliable, especially pear trees and apple trees. They can be fruitless several years in a row, or they could produce many years in a row. There's no real rhyme or reason other than it goes with the hot and cold spells. If you get a late frost, it's likely to kill your flowers back and you're done. So that's a really bad con, and you need to make sure that you have adequate food available without the fruit trees. That way, if there is no fruit, you're just fine and there's no issue. The other cons can be maintenance. Some trees require more maintenance than others. That's just a generalization I'm using here. Some apple trees require pruning. Pear trees may require pruning. It just depends on what you get. So here I kind of have a large assortment of various trees here. So the far one on your screen out there that's kind of light colored in leaves is a pecan tree. Deer will eat pecans. The two trees here in the middle are cherry trees, and then a second pecan here to help pollinate the other pecan. Pecans can grow very large, give them some space. Some pecans have been known to grow as high as more than 150 feet, so be careful with those. I mean, obviously it's not going to be that big in your lifetime, but you just don't want them spaced too close. Here we have pear tree. I'm not really going to get into names right now, but we like to call this tree Sack Daddy. Makes some big old sacks, and he is absolutely loaded. So this is one of the benefits. When fruit trees produce, they can mass produce. And I mean absolutely mass produce. So at some point when these pears are ready to fall off, the deer are waiting on these and they will eat them very quickly. I've actually seen deer stand on their hind legs and pick them off the tree. I have also literally seen deer ram these trees and knock them out that way. I mean, if they want them, they're going to find a way to get them. So this one, I call him Sack Daddy, even though that's not the type he is, but he makes a lot of big pears. This ain't even the start. They'll be more than double this size. But you can see a lot of nutritious fruit that the deer can eat. That's an excellent benefit or a pro. Also depends on what type of tree you get. Obviously this one here is a different type of pear. I'll go ahead and at least give you the name of this one. This one's an Asian pear. Grows softball size fruits or larger. There's one of them up there. Now here's the con kicking into this tree. There's hardly anything on it. There's a grand total of 3 pears on this tree that I have found, and it's just lackadaisical. This tree blooms a little bit earlier than these other pears, and it destroys it a lot during frosty transitions. So this tree has a hard time producing. One year it was absolutely loaded, and the other years were kind of a medium or nothing at all type deal, if I could speak right. Same thing out here, different type of pear, different type of results. And this pear actually needs some fertilizing help. It is growing in some very poor soil, so I'm going to give him a little fertilizer. I'm trying to let this area grow up and do a once a year mow here to try to build some new soil. So it's actually progressed quite a bit from what it used to be, and I'm slowly trying to improve this part of the ground, but at the same time I'm adding more browse for the deer. That's more like a native species spot. And here, see, this is where some of the cons can come in. You may have to prune trees. If you have time to do the maintenance, I would recommend doing so. But you can see how this particular pear is just bending limbs left and right. At some point, this tree will snap. There will be limbs break out of these, and that can be kind of a problem. It can invite disease, especially if one was to like break off here and shear down your trunk. That could be a problem as well. So there's all kinds of small pros and cons. And here's another con. I want to pick this one while I can. Pear trees can contract diseases just like apples. And come on, camera. Rust. Some people call that apple rust. That pear is destroyed and is no good for your deer. So if these trees get really bad cases of it, it can wipe out entire fruits on your tree, and it can go barren when it starts off with a really good year. So fruit trees have all these up and down swings. It's like a roller coaster ride with fruit trees. Chestnut trees are way more consistent. That is the big thing I'm preaching here about the cons of these fruit trees. See, this one has some good years, some bad years. This is a bad year. It's grown pretty good, but it's just not really producing much. This tree here has always had trouble. It's been a really finicky tree, and it's really not, this type is a Bartlett, and it has some issues, at least for us. Not all trees are going to behave the same. And then we go down here, Kieffer. I might as well name these as I go. This Kieffer has been a heavy producer, but is also losing fruit to rust. And I try to pick those off so the spores don't really spread any more than what they are, because it can go from one pear to the next. These also attract ants and other insects, which can be a problem. So you may be loading some type of pest species in here. You can also attract honeybees. That's a positive for this type of tree. Honeybees will love your fruit trees. This is another Asian pear, and there is nothing on this tree. And these are kind of sun sensitive, at least in my opinion. He's leaning really bad. I would have to stake or trim this tree back in order to fix it. So that's maintenance required, and that's something you need to think about if you don't have a lot of time for maintenance. Be very careful. Otherwise, you might waste your money. Fuyu persimmons. These are gigantic persimmons. They grow large as apples. This tree is also in the same classification with these fruit trees. It is hit and miss. This year it is a miss. There was a cold snap right when it bloomed, and it killed all the flowers on it. So now it's just doing nothing but growing, and theoretically is a waste this particular year because it's not providing anything for the deer. Same thing here. My biggest Fuyu persimmon, not a single persimmon on that tree this year. Got bit back pretty hard with frost, and it resuckered all those limbs. Kind of sucks. The only one that I have right now that's even making anything is this one. This is a different type. It is not a Fuyu, but it may be a Fiji. My memory is kind of lapsing on me here, but this one actually has a few. So that's the start of it. That will get really big here before long, and be huge orange looking fruits. There's probably about 5 or 6 of those on this tree, and 5 or 6 ain't really gonna make a hill of beans when it comes to your deer. But it's growing good, so hopefully when the year is right and the cold weather cooperates, these trees will be rocking and rolling with heavy production, and they can be some prolific producers of fruits. So that is the video on fruit trees. Just be careful and mindful when you buy fruit trees. Not every year you're going to get everything, so don't be disappointed if you don't have fruit from year to year. Just make sure you have enough food without the trees being there, and you'll be okay. I hope you find this video informative. At some point, I probably will do certain videos on certain types of trees here, kind of going back and forth on that idea. I mean, if you want that, I can definitely do that for you. But if you like this content, hit that like and subscribe button. And as the channel grows, hopefully I can help you expand your knowledge on deer, and hopefully you'll have a lot better hunts than what you do now. Have a good one, guys.